Hey folks, thank you for tuning in, episode 77. Very special guest tonight is Gareth Thomas of USA Nails. They currently have a split out with Psychic Graveyard, who is also performing at No Coast Fest 2022. What you're listening to is the first track off of that split by USA Nails. It's All in the Context. End of the episode, we feature a small portion of What Have We Become. Great talk. Don't have a lot of time. This song is very short, so just like to say thank you very much for tuning in and doing all the things you do with the internet. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, rate, review. Find us on social medias and so forth. Just Google our name and you'll find it all, okay? And thank you very much, folks. Enjoy. Hello.
Hey.
So how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks very much for having me on.
Oh, not a problem. I'm very happy to have you. I'm actually really looking forward to meeting a lot of new people thanks to the No Coast Fest.
Cool. Yeah. It's well, I'm just stoked to be part of the, in one of the bands playing it because the lineup looks so good. I can't believe we've been asked to do it as well, to be honest. So yeah, it looks great.
Yeah, I know. One of the bands that's on the same night that you're playing is actually Psychic Graveyard, which you guys recently did a split with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I actually have that split.
Oh, cool. Nice one. Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. And I intend to buy more of your records actually because, but with you being in the UK, it's hard because of the shipping. The shipping sucks, right? It's so expensive.
Yeah. Well, we do have a couple of labels in the US who have been pressing our records there, which helps a little bit with distribution. So Hex Records, who are based out of Portland, Oregon, did their own runs for the last two records, and then Skingraft obviously pressed the Psychic Graveyard split in the States too. So yeah. But I think the stocks in the States are running a bit lower than they are here in Europe. So
okay.
Might be harder to get hold of.
Are you going to be bringing some records with you from the UK?
We'll have some. I think I'm not sure we're going to be able to bring any with us, just because of how much stuff we're going to be allowed to bring. But I think we'll have some over there. I think our Hex and Skingraft are going to sort us out with some copies to sell over there, I think. So
oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, we'll have something anyway. So
yeah. As long as I get an opportunity, because I've been listening to all of your records, and unfortunately, this split is the only one I have of yours right now. But all of the albums are great. I really do like all of them.
Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with any one of them. If anyone is listening to, is experiencing you for the first time and they're like, oh, where do I start? You can start anywhere.
Cool. That's good advice.
Yeah. But so I wanted to speak with you briefly tonight about an album that was important to you.
Yeah. So yeah, when you asked us to do this, I had to have a good long think about which record to choose, but yeah, and part of me is still wondering if I picked the right one for me, but I like my choice, so yeah, and it's too late to change it now. So
I like your choice too, actually. I did not know the sound.
Okay.
I didn't know anything about them at all, actually. So it was pretty cool to experience it. So I started here, obviously, with the record that you chose, Jeopardy, being their debut full length. And I immediately was kind of mesmerized by it. I was just like, wow, this is like so kind of complex. Like, obviously I saw the first things. The first things I saw was, came out in 1980. I saw that it was listed as alternative music, which, from the 80s music, from 80s genres, I mean, there's only so much you can grasp by that. And then the sound of it obviously made me think, like, I saw that they were a UK band.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, this UK band from the 80s sounds kind of reminiscent of the new wave in the 80s of what we think of English bands. Wire, The Cure, um,
Yeah,
all those, okay, Echo and the Bunnymen, and
yeah,
so forth. And I
definitely.
was just like, okay, yeah, this fits right in there, but why have I never heard of this band?
Yeah, and I think that's something that's often well when you do see stuff written about this album and them in general, they're often sort of touted as a band who were really good, like had great critical responses to especially the first two records. Um, but yet they never got the sort of commercial success that Echo and the Bunnymen or Joy Division did, and it's that they I think they fared better on the continent. In Europe they have um, bigger followings in like the Netherlands and France and stuff than they do in the UK, which is which is kind of weird. But they do seem to be, but it's a good thing to bond over when you meet someone else who really digs the sound because yeah, it doesn't seem like there's as many they have as many fans as they should do. But
Right, right.
but
And it
there
seems
was
like it's growing,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I mean, I know a lot of people more my age who are sort of getting into them sort of later now, and there's a film came out a few years ago now, just sort of an independently financed film about the life of Adrian Borland, the guitarist stroke singer,
Hmm.
um, which which I was lucky to be able to go and see. But I mean, it was produced by a Dutch company. Um, it wasn't, and it been screened that much over here. But in Europe, it's doing the rounds a bit more at film festivals and stuff.
Mm.
Um, but that's but yeah. So they're I think they're big with the obviously the internet has allowed them to find a new audience, as I guess it has a lot of sort of bands that maybe went under the radar in sort of previous decades.
Right. Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, I'm kind of fascinated by it because it's new to me. I actually listened to most of their other records too, because considering I didn't know them, I started off with this record. Obviously, I listened to it. I was just like, okay, this is a very cool record. I'm very glad that Gareth chose this. And then I saw the rest of the discography, so I was just like, well, let me go see what else they got because maybe the rest of it's pretty good. And
Mm.
I was not as pleased. Like it seemed very strange that even the record that came after this, the I forget the name of it now,
Uh,
something about the
from the
lion's
Lion's
mouth.
Mouth, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I felt like it most of the music, most of the progression from that onward seemed to get very poppy.
Yeah, so I mean, From the Lion's Mouth is for me, it's an amazing record.
Hmm.
It is the production is slightly better than I mean, there's a charm in the sort of lo-fi production of the first record, but the second one, like, it
Sure.
feels like apparently it was there. That was the label, I think, saying to them, okay, we need to chuck more at this because critically it did really well, but we need to up the production value and stuff. But it still didn't really haven't break through. So, but then on the third record, um, I think, well, legend has it that they were asked to do a really, really commercial sounding record,
Mm.
and they did the opposite because they, in a big sort of fuck you to the label, they were like, they kind of knew they were going to get dropped anyway, so they made. Um, I mean, by it, if you listen to like Wolf Eyes or Boredoms or whatever, it doesn't sound that noisy. But compared to like being on a subsidiary of Warner and try like that third record has some really weird ideas on it and some
Mm.
but purposely sort of very obtuse things on it,
Sure. And at
which
that time in the 80s, early 80s.
yeah, it sort of took them. Yeah, it was a sort of commercial suicide record, but it's got some great songs on it as well, and the weird noise bits kind of almost elevate it a bit.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I would like to give it another listen. I mean, I haven't had too much time, and so I just kind of started there. That was just my initial impression. Sometimes give something another listen, and you'll get something else out of it. And
Mm.
then I started obviously doing some research and reading about the lead singer Adrian Borland and a little bit of history of the band, and it started becoming more intriguing because there's the whole
Mm,
story about him. Obviously, it's a very tragic story, but so I'd like to actually get to know you a little bit better because I am not familiar with you. I mean, I obviously I know your band a little bit. I love the new record, the new split with Psychic Graveyard is great, and most of your like all the other records that I've listened to are also on the same wavelength. It's the same par, It's like it's good noise rock music.
cool. Thanks, man.
Um, so you're from the UK,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I
born and
know that.
raised?
Yeah. Yeah. All of us. I mean, I know our name might make people think that
American,
we're
yeah.
we're American band, but we're just named after a nail bar in just somewhere in East London. But
Hmm.
since I found out there was a band called French Nails, who were German.
Oh,
Uh, so and obviously you've got Nails, who are just Nails, and they're American. So
huh,
it's fine. Everyone's doing the
yeah.
confusing. It's not just us.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You're adding to the
Yeah,
mythology of
yeah,
anything that has to do with opposite origins, country
yeah.
origins. But so you grew up in where? London, or what city are you in?
Yeah, pretty much. I've been here my whole life. The rest of the boys are well, Tom is from Brighton on the south coast. Stephen is from sort of Manchester area, up north originally. He's recently moved back there actually, which is um, means that we're having to experiment with some new ways of writing at the moment. Not
Hmm,
all being in the same city.
sure.
But Dan is from the Midlands, but yeah, we all for the most part we've been a London-based band.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Okay. And what is I can't help but to think, you kind of look like me. Where
My mum is from the Philippines, so that gives me a bit of um, yeah, a different look. My dad,
exotic look.
an exotic look. Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad is from Wales, so that's less exotic. But yeah, but that's what about you? What is your
I'm actually
uh?
Bolivian.
Oh wow, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
100% Bolivian as far as I can
100%
tell.
Bolivian.
Yeah, it's
Cool,
weird.
cool. All right,
Yeah. Both of my
nice.
parents actually came from there. Like I guess I am
Mm-hmm.
what first generation because I was actually born here in the United States in Rhode Island.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah. But I just thought that's weird. I mean, I get stuff like that all the time because I don't look Bolivian necessarily.
Right, right. I
So
see.
I get confused for a lot of different things. And so
Oh, me too. I kind of wherever I go, people tend to think that's where I'm from. So I'll get spoken to in Spanish when I'm in Spain, or
hmm.
in French, Italian when I'm in Italy, or um, yeah, it's weird that people have trouble pigeonholing my ethnicity. So
Yeah, right.
that's all right. I don't mind being
Yeah,
being
unique.
different. Yeah,
It's wild.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I kind of used to hate it as a kid, but now I really like it. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's all come back around. It's all good.
I hear you. I agree with you. So now I was asking you about this record. I said that how when I first saw it, it was categorized as alternative. What do
Hmm.
you consider it to be? Like how what's its impression with you?
I mean, it's a post-punk record. It's a sort of gothic post-punk
Mm,
record. Maybe, yeah, a bit new wave. The synth work in it sort of pushes it more in that new wave direction. But I think maybe one other member of the sound in the original lineup was in a band with Adrian Ball and previous
oh yeah, The
to that.
Outsiders.
The Outsiders, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and they were a pretty much straight up sort of punk band. So I kind of
yeah,
think about them in the context of that in the context of that band and that record, which some people as well claim is like the first DIY record. which I don't know. That's quite a bold claim to make. I mean,
Yeah.
but
This
because it
record,
was
Jeopardy?
no, the
The
Outsiders
Outsiders
album
record. Okay.
that was recorded before. So, but that sort of mythology as well, that sort of appeals to me as well. But
Hmm.
because I mean, I didn't find out about the records about the first time I heard Jeopardy. I was on tour in France, and we were staying at a promoter's house, and he put this record on, and my ears pricked up straight away, and I was like, "Oh, who's this?" And he was like, "Oh, it's The Sound." Had a look at the record. I was like, "Oh, I've never heard of these before." Went back home, checked them out, did a bit of reading up, and found out that they were kind of from the same area of London as I was from, sort of southwest sort of London.
Hmm.
And in fact, they'd even Adrian Bourne had I lived opposite the school that he'd went to, like the high school that he went to, which is a bit random and weird.
Oh yeah. Wow.
But yeah, but then to hear like, oh wow, and they recorded that Outsiders record in his house, like his dad, who was didn't really know what he was doing, just they talk about it in the film as well. They interview Adrian Borland's dad, and he talks about how he had it all set up in the house
Hmm.
and how they just recorded it themselves and just got all the equipment from wherever and sort of worked it out as they went along. But yeah, so I quite like that sort of.
Yeah, it's
I
like
mean,
local. It's like right
yeah,
there. Like you're in it.
like to know that and when in that band I was touring was a proper sort of DIY kind of hardcore band. I just love the idea that wow, potentially this album that has the claim to be the first ever sort of DIY record or whatever
Yeah.
was recorded around here, around me. I was like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that I mean, yeah, it just added to the sort of to my intrigue and my interest in them. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, weird. So, you heard this for the first time on tour in 2015, did you say? Or what year was it?
Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe a bit longer ago, maybe more like 2010, 11, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, but like I was saying before, they were more popular on the continent, so
Right.
it stands to reason that it would be over there that I would find out about them. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, but I had to go all the way to France to find out about a band that were from like, my local area. So
Right. It was
yeah,
right in your backyard practically.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
How
it's weird how
wild.
things work. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So, I was asking you about what you consider this music to be, genre-wise, because genre is kind of like this weird thing for me right now. Like it's very intriguing because we're talking pretty much because of No Coast Fest, which you are going to be participating in, and I'm actually going to be there as well. And I'm a big fan of noise rock music, and that's what this festival is billed as. It's billed as a no excuse me, no noise rock festival. Like, what is noise rock to you?
Oof. Well, I guess it's quite a broad genre, isn't it, these days? But
Yeah, I mean, because like I've
um,
been listening to the bands that are on the bill, some of them, and they're a lot of times they're very different.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to sort of characterize, isn't it? Because yeah, like you say, there's a lot. It can cover a lot of different things.
Right.
I mean, there's certain things you could pick that are elements that are common in noise rock bands.
Sure.
Probably, um, I don't know, vocals are. It's not much singing, is there?
Not
but
melody per se, no,
no,
but yeah.
not so much melody in the vocals. You might say that um, the something that always stands out to me is that there's a certain tone on the bass guitar which is very much
Oh
that
yeah.
Bob Weston uh
Yeah, that very
Jesus Lizard
trebly,
sort of
kind of
sound.
high
Yeah,
end.
that really clangy, almost sounds like a piano, almost, that really
Mm,
um lots of high mids, so it really sort of cuts through. And then but I don't know, it covers so many different things. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know
yeah.
if we a, a strictly noise rock. But what if people want to call us that, it's fine by me. But
Yeah. Well, I was going
um
to ask you, like, how do how do you define your band, USA Nails?
uh I mean I guess I mean it's what you're saying. It's quite interesting about a genre, isn't it? That
Hmm.
it can almost it can almost, a term can be so broad that it almost becomes a bit meaningless, doesn't it? And but I mean, our reference points are sort of post-punk bands of the 80s, Wire, Devo, um,
Sure.
uh, Gang of Four, but then I suppose maybe sort of more grungy elements mixed in with that as well. Um, Hot
Sure.
Snakes,
Yeah.
Mets were a band that the first time I heard Mets, I was sort of blown away.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm not sure. It's a hard question to answer. I don't really
Yeah.
know how I would define it. I could
Well,
easily, like, I mean, like, yeah, pick out elements or bands that I would say that's a noise rock band. But
yeah. Do you
to,
consider USA Nails to be a noise rock band?
sure, yeah, why not? I mean, if people want to call us that, I'm happy to go with that. If it
Yeah.
helps people understand what we're doing, I'm happy to with that label. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Huh.
puts us under an umbrella with lots of cool bands that I like, so that's fine with
Right.
me.
Yeah. I
Mm.
mean, so what is like the noise rock music scene in London right now?
In
I'm imagining you
London,
have contemporaries, right? You have like peers.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of, again, I don't know if they would like to be, furnished with that label, but there's a lot of cool sort of noisy, non-melody vocals, heavy bass guitar sort of bands coming out of London. I mean, like going back, I mean, there's so many that I dig, but like the sort of more legendary ones are maybe like Part Chimp, um,
Hmm.
or Hey Colossus, who aren't really based in London anymore, but they're kind of they'll always be a London band to me. Um,
Okay.
um, Further afield in the UK, I suppose Nod are um, do quite well here in the. I mean, I have no idea what level of popularity any of these bands have in the States and beyond.
Sure.
I, I know they're big here and in Europe, but I'm not sure any of them have really toured that extensively in America or had US labels work with them.
Okay.
Uh, um, but yeah, there's loads of really cool smaller bands. Like I used to be in a band called Silent Front, who and the singer from that band Phil has formed a new an amazing noise rock band called X'd Out, who and they have a trumpet player and he does sort of like noise manipulation as well, and it gives it a
Hmm.
whole. I mean, yeah, that's it. I mean, you can have trumpet too, and that's still noise rock. So
Sure.
uh, um, yeah, modern technology, human leather. I mean, yeah, I could just list loads of bands, I suppose, that
Okay.
I would loosely sort of group under that term. But yeah, but
Right.
there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, of that ilk. Yeah,
That's great. All right. So that's something to look forward to, kind of something to for me to mill over and maybe like go explore some of these bands and hear about them because I'm sure the benefit to living in today's time is that you just give me that name and I can probably find those bands. I can probably find a way to listen to it somehow.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So that's great. Yeah, we'll do that. Now you were saying something about like some of those bands, you don't know how far their reach is, like whether they toured the US or anything like that. And that's also kind of funny, kind of ties into the band The Sound because they don't exist anymore. But even at the time when they were when they were relative and actually working, their notoriety had kind of gone under the radar, kind of like very little what's the word for that? Little attention for them, I guess.
Mm, mm,
Um, and they were on a label, as you said, a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, Korova,
mm,
which was also the home of Echo and the Bunnymen. So,
mm.
obviously a pretty big thing. So it's peculiar why like any band or any album kind of falls through these cracks. But do you have any opinion as to like why that could happen to a band? Like maybe even just today in your own time. I'm not asking you to speak about the 80s because you weren't making
Mm.
music then.
Um, but what good bands that fall through the cracks? I
Yeah,
mean, it 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 can be any number of things, I suppose. I mean,
right.
there's I mean, to some extent, there's a game you've got to play if you want people to hear your band. You know, it's all being good will get you so far.
You have to be
Um,
willing to shamelessly promote.
um, in a way, or just meeting the right people and
Hmm.
being at the right place at the right time, doing the right thing at the right time. Um,
Which you have no idea, though. You don't know if you're doing that.
well, that's it. I mean, and some bands, seem to would be doing what they're doing anyway, and it just happens to resonate at a particular moment in time, and that might be something that gets picked up. But if they'd been a couple of years later, maybe it would have been a different story.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of elements, I suppose, isn't there, to sort of being successful, and a lot of it is knowing the right people. I think, unfortunately, I mean, I think that goes for the
Sure.
same in any industry, not just in music.
Right.
But but knowing the right promoters, and not to say that that's a dirty game to play or whatever. I mean, it's just like if you happen to be friends with the people that are putting on the touring bands, and they know that you're a decent person or a decent band and you're reliable,
Right.
um, then you're more likely to get booked for that show than just some unknown quantity. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it's hard. I mean, if I knew exactly what it was, then maybe I'd be
You'd be
doing
doing
music for a
it.
living. So yeah, if I
Yeah.
really did know the answer to that question, but uh,
Yeah. Well, there's no right or wrong
mm,
answer. I mean, I think mostly it's kind of like whatever you get from your own experience, now that you're doing it, you're living in that.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it depends what you define as sort of success or what your goals are, I suppose, as well. I mean, if um, yeah,
Yeah. Definitely. Because I mean, would you be happy with a kind of career similar to Adrian Borland? I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that you're suicidal, and I hope that you're not, and I hope that that doesn't happen. But I mean, you know, uh, relatively unknown, mainstream success, but but having an underground following where there are people that constantly find your music and really appreciate it.
I mean, yeah, I'd be happy with that. I mean, I'm sure that more people will know about the sound than will ever know about any of my bands, probably. But
Yeah, you never
uh,
know, man. Maybe
well,
not.
maybe in 40 years' time, someone will be having this conversation about about
US
one of our
nails.
albums. Maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe it would be cool.
Um, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the state of things at the if you're lucky enough to be able to do music and not have to rely on it as to have the time to do it and to do it in a way you want to do it without having the pressures of it, paying your rent or paying your mortgage. That can also, for some people, that is success. Like I get to
Oh
do
yeah.
exactly what I want to, and I don't have to worry about being commercially viable because I've got a job. So
Right.
so yeah, I mean it's a funny one, but yeah, I would. I mean, in theory, yeah, the idea of being able to make a living from doing music and having that level of recognition would be great. But to be honest, if I had it, I'd probably find something to complain about anyway. So yeah,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's always something to complain about, but I mean, as
yeah,
long as I would love to see that. I would love to see that you end up in that position where you're right where you want to be. Complaints and
cool.
all.
Yeah, all right. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, so one fact I found out about this record was that it only cost 800 pounds to record.
Great. Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, it does feel the sound of it is a little strange, a little bit off in places, and a bit lo-fi. So it kind of
Hmm.
makes sense that yeah, I remember reading about, they weren't given that much of a budget for it.
That's not much,
So
is it? I mean, how much is
no,
that, comparatively, would you think?
Uh, cool. So that what was that like early 80s? I
79,
don't
I
know.
imagine, if it came out in 80.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't really know how much inflation would affect that figure now, but
Right.
I mean, I mean, for a band signed to a label like that, not a major but a subsidiary of one, you'd expect a bigger budget than that.
Sure. I mean,
But
for me, that sounds like it's pretty minuscule.
I mean, we we actually I don't know. Once you add it all up together, our budget for recording is more than that, but not much more than that, I don't think.
Yeah. Sure.
um, but we're a different quantity. We pay for, we don't have a label advance to pay for recording
Right. Right.
and
How is
stuff.
your recording process? You do it all yourselves?
No, we've worked with the same producer for on all the records that we've on all the albums that we've recorded. Some of the EPs we've done ourselves, but and the odd tracks here and there. But um, Wayne Adams is his name. He runs his own studio in East London, but he's sort of he seems to be a kind of go-to person for any sort of noisy guitar or like he does a lot of guitar bands, but he's like um his background is sort of in electronic music, in breakcore and
Hmm.
gabber and stuff, and so he's got some crazy synth projects as well as like doing sort of pretty sort of heavy band stuff as well. But but yeah, he's kind of our George Martin, if you like. He's very much a producer, not an engineer with us. Like it's and we really sort of value his input um on the records. Like he's
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I think he's kind of a big part of our sound we owe to Wayne, I think.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, he's a sort of important part of us. Like, yeah.
Cool. That's great. Um, Speaking of like kind of like the what's the word I keep on way words are failing me today. That's one of the that's one of the names of one of the songs on this record, actually, oddly enough. But yeah, the so I found this quote from Michael Dudley, the drummer from the album,
Okay.
and he said that the quote is, "I felt I had really achieved something in my life. I couldn't wait to hand out copies to friends and family. It was the most fun to record and the biggest challenge to work on in the studio of all the Sounds albums." So, with this quote being an in consideration, what album in your discography might you hold in the same esteem?
That I've recorded and
Yes,
am
your own
proud of.
album. Yeah.
Oh, oh, okay. Good question. Um, God, that's hard. That's hard.
I mean, are you excited about all of them? Like every time you have a record coming out, you're excited to bring it to your parents and your family and friends?
It's more, to be honest, I feel I have them, I know better what I feel about a record after a few years. I
Hmm.
feel like straight after I've recorded something, uh, it's not a very reliable feeling that I have about it in terms of how I end up feeling about it sort of further down the line. Um, so, because often if you've been spending a lot of time writing and listening and mixing, just end up a little bit too close to it to have
Hmm.
a reliable sort of opinion on it, I think. So in the way that he's like he comes straight out of the studio and was like, yes, this is something I want to play to my family and friends. I don't think I've ever felt that about any record I've been involved with. But as years have passed, I've like thought, you know what, actually, with a bit of distance, this is a pretty good record. I think we did a good job on this one.
Hmm.
Um, I think, I mean, the album that of ours that, well, not everyone, but a lot of people say is their favorite is the second record, No Pleasure. And
Okay.
I listen back to that, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool because the first record was quite different. Um, to where we ended up going. But the second album was where we sort of, I think, figured out where we needed to, what kind of band we were.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I like all of our records. I'm pleased with everything that we've done, but there's maybe it's the tours we did around that time as well, and was just a bit younger. So I have some fond memories of that.
Yeah, that's funny that your audience like kind of that's their impression. That's like that's one of your better records as well. Like obviously it hits a certain uh so it has a certain impact on a good number of
mm,
people, I would imagine. And
yeah.
that is a good record. I have been listening to that one too, as long along with Sonic Moist and Life Cinema and Character Stop, all the other records. I've listened to all of them. So yeah, and like I said, I think that they're all great. I think they all obviously have a certain mystique about them. As a outsider listening to all of this stuff, like pretty much for the first time. I think that it certainly is intriguing if you like noise rock music, quote unquote noise rock, and if you like hard edged, aggressive music. All of the records still fall into that category. They're like none of them are like way out. Like none of them are like a huge departure. They're all still
Mm.
within this realm. So with that being said, how are you feeling about your next outing, like the next record that might be coming?
What we've got the next album recorded. In fact, we've just sent it for mastering. So
Oh, great.
um, and it was so as I mentioned before, Stephen has moved to Manchester. So we weren't the way that we used to for like the first five albums plus splits and EPs and whatever. We'd always write in the room. That was kind of always what was exciting about the about
Hmm.
about the approach of the band. It was very instinctive and very immediate, and come away from practice with like two or three songs almost written,
Sure.
and be churning out lots of ideas, ditching a lot, churning out a lot more. And so we're kind of experimenting with the new record. I mean, people might listen to it and just think, "Oh, it just sounds the same as all the other ones," but the approach was kind of different. Because some of the songs were pre-written before Stephen moved away. Some of them were half-written. Um, and so the new album is the first record where we haven't tried to do it live.
Hmm.
Everything, I don't know, for the longest time we sort of almost just thought, never gave it two thoughts. It was just like, no, our records are recorded live. That's how USANL's records are recorded. But when it
Sure.
came to the new one, it was like, no, we're going to need a bit more flexibility, because Stephen hadn't written his parts at the time that we were recording. We were writing these. Sent some demos back and forth, but um, we knew that what we were recording wasn't necessarily going to be the finished version. So wanted to sort of track everything separately and kind of
Hmm.
write while recording and sending it back and forth to Stephen and him adding his bits. So, but maybe I don't know. The result maybe isn't. We weren't trying to make a different sounding, or we weren't aiming for something that's a huge departure from what we've done before. So I don't know. Like I've said, like about all the records that I've ever recorded, I've never really trust my immediate thoughts on it after sort of finishing with recording it.
Hmm.
I like it. There's good songs on it. Um, it's just a bit different. I'm interested to see how it goes down. Really, we've
Sure.
already had thoughts about how to do the next record, but we're really getting ahead of ourselves now. I mean, so we only just released the split a couple of months ago, so the next
Yeah.
album probably won't be, although it's being mastered now, probably won't be released until next spring, especially with vinyl lead times as long as
Right.
they are at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but the next one we think is, we also got asked to write a song for oh promise. I'm not going to say give too
You
much
can't
away,
say
but
it. Okay.
but we've for the first time ever we've written a song like completely remotely, where it was drums recorded, sent up to Stephen. He recorded his bits, moved around some of the drums, sent them back.
Hmm.
We recorded more bits down here, and I've always felt like I never wanted USA Nails to be a band that worked like that, because that to me just sounded knackering and boring.
Hmm.
Like, what was fun about it was the social side, being in a room, uh, having a few drinks, having some laughs, like with four friends all together. Not
Right.
that I don't drink anymore, but still, the principle's the same. But
Yeah.
and so the idea of doing it remotely, but then we did this song remotely because we had to do a song for something that will become clear at some point. But um, and actually, we all kind of really enjoyed it. So that's another different way of working. I mean, we're just still working, feeling our way through about like how
Sure.
uh, how things are going to work in future. But
Right.
but
Well,
we've
and
said
I'm sure that the pandemic kind of had an influence on that as well, because I'm sure you didn't want to be stagnant for that entire time, considering we didn't even know how long it was going to last, and it's still not even completely over.
yeah. Um, so yeah, no, very much so. I mean, that was something. I mean, strangely, we didn't start writing remotely until after the sort of time when when it would have been perfectly fine for us to go into the studio or something. But
Hmm.
yeah, but we'd sort of experimented with it over the pandemic, and we did a couple of like little covers EPs where we just all recorded our own stuff, but
Hmm.
it's nothing like sort of not a proper sort of record, but
Right.
yeah, but I guess forcing yourself to do things in different ways can be quite fruitful, can't it, and sort of result
If it
in
works
different
out,
things.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
it seems that what you're saying is that it has worked out for the new record, so that's great.
I hope so. I hope everyone thinks that hears it thinks that.
Yeah. Well, maybe they won't even know. They'll be like, "Oh, it sounds like another USA Nails
Oh, it
record."
sounds fine. It's one of those live USA Nails records.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I want to talk a little bit more about this record, but I'm not going to do the full treatment. Okay. So the first song on the record is called "I Can't Escape Myself."
Yeah.
Um, so now you put this record on, right? Now the first time you said you heard it was in France on tour.
Mm.
So this song comes on. What happens to you?
Um, I can't. I mean, uh, it's hard to remember my sort of first reaction on hearing it, other than it was something that I was definitely very interested in. But
Yeah.
it's quite every time I put this record on now, like it feels like it's a really iconic, to me it feels iconic, like opening, the way it sort of fades in to that first sort of bit,
Sure.
and it's almost like it's their first track, but on the first record, but it's it says, it almost tells you, I don't want to sort of make him seem really one dimensional, but it tells you a lot about what you need to know about Adrian Borland and how troubled he was. Like,
Sure. Yeah,
and,
no,
and the
I picked that up immediately.
yeah, and I mean, it's so, his story is so tragic, obviously, but and the fact that the first, like, he sort of captures that within the sort of first few minutes of their first album
Hmm.
is I mean, it's really haunting, isn't it? And it's really
Sure.
sort of captivating. Like, and he really fucking means it, obviously. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's pretty self-explanatory, like what the song's about.
Right.
But yeah, it still sends chills down my spine, like that, the way that song opens, in it. Um,
Right.
yeah, it's yeah.
Just an
Um,
idea for some of the listeners. I mean, so a very small sample of the first verse of lyrics says, "So many feelings pent up in here, left all alone. I'm with the one I most fear. I'm
yeah,
sick and I'm tired of reasoning. Just want to break out, shake off this skin." So yeah, I mean, like you're saying, it's pretty evident to just listen to the first song and just be like, this guy sounds really fucking depressed.
Yeah. Yeah,
And he
that's it.
was, he
Yeah.
certainly had some illnesses. I mean, some kind of mental illness. I'm not sure exactly what, but he definitely suffered from depression.
Mm, mm.
How are you, Gareth?
How am I? Well, I mean, I'm okay. I mean, I suffer with anxiety and depression as well,
Hmm.
mate. So, um, this maybe that's one of the reasons why this sort of band resonates with me as well. And like his, not that I would ever sort of compare, what I have to go through with, whatever Adrian Bourne might have, but I don't know. It's not
You
completely
connect on that
unrelatable.
level. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you've had depressive tendencies, you've had like moments of depression and so forth.
yeah. I'm still on antidepressant medication now, and yeah. So I get it, and yeah, and it resonates definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm,
But and same with me. I mean, I'm not on any medication, but I definitely feel, and I know that have been for a long time, like ever since my teens. I know that I've always had depressive tendencies. And I have my moments, but as of right now, things are okay. Things seem all right.
good,
So
good.
that's all we can hope for, really.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Um, Now, the next song is Heartland. Um, I didn't really know what to think of this song. I started kind of listening deeply a couple times, and it seems to be fairly straightforward. Still in the same vein of like this guy that is troubled. He has issues. He has kind of anxiety and depression issues, and it seems that he's very stressed out about where he lives. But yet at the same time, the song is called Heartland.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure I even know what this song is about, but
Mm.
it's a ripper. It's great. I mean, like
It
the
is
first
good.
track is obviously really brooding, isn't it? And then it sort of kicks into this, and that sort of synth line over the sort of that lead synth line is just carries the whole thing, and it's really sort of upbeat. I mean, it might be quite down. I mean, down in terms of the lyrical content,
Right.
but there's like a feeling of like hope in it, I suppose, about yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure entirely. It feels a bit ambiguous to me, but I've
Hmm.
never really sat there with the lyric sheet and sort of analyzed it. But
I mean, like thinking about the lyrics again, just to touch on them briefly. I don't really want to get too crazy into it, but
mm,
there's the comparison obviously that's made between this band and many other English bands, but one of them specifically being Joy Division. Um, I don't get it, man. I can't believe that like this isn't like really like right there on par with where Joy Division ended up and kind of in that canon of like, you know, essential English new wave music, especially because it's so depressing, and Joy
yeah,
Division is immensely depressing. I mean, like
mm,
I think anyone that listens to Joy Division will probably say it's just like, oh yeah, it's like what I listen to when I get in those moods.
mm. Yeah. I mean, I mean, obviously, I love this record, but one of the things that did make me think, well, maybe some of the lyrics are a bit more on the nose than
Sure.
maybe Echo and the Bunnymen or Joy Division, and maybe that's why in continental Europe, where people speak English as a second language, and like the idea that the ideas are communicated quite clearly
Hmm.
is makes it more popular over there. But over here, because maybe people like things a bit more obtuse and a bit more cryptic, I don't know, and it's maybe a bit too clear sometimes what's being said, and
Mm.
maybe I don't know. It was just a thought that I had, that maybe that was one of the things that sort of held it back, that it was a bit too, his heart really was on his sleeve with it a
Mm.
lot of the time. It wasn't really um, much sort of hiding behind um, floral language or or metaphors or anything.
Sure.
It's really all sort of out there, isn't it? So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you
yeah.
that I think for this record specifically, I didn't listen to the other ones very, very thoroughly as I did for this one. I think the first three songs are definitely kind of like what you're talking about, where it's like very on the nose, very much like, oh, this is a depressing record, and you can kind of hear this guy kind of bearing his soul through the lyrics. But then as you move down, particularly on the second side, I feel like it's a lot more broad content lyrically speaking. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
like he's focused on just kind of how depressed he is, but more of a worldview type of thing. So we'll move on to the song Missiles,
Yeah,
or as he pronounces it, Missiles.
missiles. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's the English pronunciation of that word,
Right.
isn't it?
That's what I imagine it to
We
be.
would, yeah, missile. Yeah, we'd say missile. But yeah, that one's obviously a bit more sort of uh, a broadly political song,
Yeah,
I guess, or
I think
maybe
so.
reflecting on who's the German guy that helped design the atom bomb? Might he
Oh,
von
Oppenheimer?
Braun? Oh, Oppenheimer.
Was it
Is that it?
Oppenheimer?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But there's been I've listened to a few podcasts about that sort of thing, about the people and the tech behind you know people whose technology becomes or whose advances are then sort of subverted into use by sort of the military and stuff, and like where that leaves them sort of morally. So I don't know if
Hmm.
it's more about that or if it's more just a comment on more just an anti-war song, I suppose. But
Yeah, yeah, right. I
yeah.
mean, it's not something that I think about too often as far as this, like, what songs in my discography, are war songs or war protest songs in general. But
Mm.
this one kind of really hits on it pretty heavily. I think it asks the obvious question, who the hell makes those when they know what they can do?
Mm.
And it's true. I mean, it's a very moral question, I guess, to ask is this like, well, why do we even create these weapons of mass destruction?
Yeah. Or I just had a thought there. Maybe it's is it in Clerks? They have that conversation about the people that work on the Death Star, and they're like, well, they've got no morals. That they've chosen to work on the Death Star, and they know they deserve to die because they picked to work
Right.
for an evil
Empire.
empire. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that so maybe it's something like that. But maybe Clerks was inspired. That little skit was inspired by this song.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
Kevin Smith's a
maybe.
massive sound fan. You never know. Probably
It could
not.
be.
But
Yeah, I think that's funny. But I mean, and so I was thinking about it because I mean, obviously, I mean, being anti-war is not a crazy ideology to have. I mean, but I was thinking that Adrian Borland being British, but little younger than the dinosaurs. So he was born in 57. And I did a little
Mhm.
bit of research. Turns out like a lot of the British invasion rock and roll musicians, like the Who and the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, they were born in like the I believe in like the 40s, right?
Okay.
Late
Yeah.
40s. No.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, late 40s, I think. So
Yeah.
they were of that generation where they growing up as children were kind of like witness to the fallout of post World War II, right? and
Hmm.
and England, London specifically, I guess, had suffered a lot of damage and destruction from the war.
Hmm.
And so these kids were growing up in like a post-war um, environment where they see things that are just blown, just completely leveled, and so forth. I don't know if he was experiencing that because of he was being just like the slightly later generation.
Yeah. I'm not sure what could have been the sort of the thing, if there was a single thing that really inspired that. Maybe just the Cold War in general.
Oh yeah, sure.
Um, that would sort of make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be kind of more of a modern take on that song and kind of inspiration
Mm,
for it.
yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Cold War. Yeah,
Okay, right. And
yeah.
and how and I suppose that you are probably anti-war, right?
Yes, yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cool. Um, So then, yeah, like I said, just moving on to the second side of the record, the B side, great songs. Just it doesn't seems more worldly, just kind of not as pigeonholed into this kind of depressive content. It's kind of the first song on the second side being Heyday.
Hmm. Yeah, that's quite an upbeat sort of
Yeah,
number, isn't it? Maybe the sort of more like a sort of bit like Heartland, I suppose, in terms of it's sort of like
yeah.
as up tempo as they get, really. Um, um, Again, I've never really taken time to think about the lyrics for this one. I'm just looking at them now, actually, but
Hmm.
I don't know. It feels like it's a letter to someone kind of specific. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. It is a bit more cryptic, that one. So
Yeah.
maybe I should take back what I said about it being the lyrics being quite on the nose with the sound in general. But
Well, I think some of them certainly are, but
mhm.
this one and then like the other ones, Jeopardy, Night versus Day,
Mm.
Resistance seems a little on the nose.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
even that, the next one, Unwritten Law, and then ending the album with the song Desire.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they're pretty out there. Just kind of very wide swath of kind of content.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. True, true.
So now, like I said, I didn't want to get too crazy into this album like I usually do,
Hmm.
but what I'm curious, what are your plans for October? Because you're doing the No Coast Fest,
Hmm.
and I imagine you're doing some other dates in the States.
We're trying to we are booking some shows leading up to it. Um, but we once those are firmed up a bit more, we'll make an announcement about that. But yeah, that's still in progress at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, but people should look out
Yeah.
for those. We're not many, like just like four shows I think running up to it. But just,
Oh,
while we're over, it made sense to play a few other cities too.
yeah, of
So
course.
yeah, so
That's
looking
great.
forward to that. Yeah. Mm.
Okay. I know that you had mentioned how one of the bands that you've listened to that really turned you on was Mets, and they're actually playing the following night.
Yeah.
Are you gonna
Yes.
try to stick around and see them?
Well, yes, but we have. I mean, we've the logistical side of this band now is quite complicated these days. With everyone's got work, and there's
Sure.
Stephen's got uh, a young kid, uh, and flights back from Dallas. I guess it would be. I've
Hmm.
looked back, and it's a bit fiddly getting back to London, and we might need to leave on the Saturday, which would mean that we would miss Mets. But that's if we need to get back for work on the Monday, which I think I think I do. I've rinsed my my holiday allowance for this year.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but we did a short tour with Mets a few years in 2019, some UK shows with them before, and so I'm sure they won't remember us. No, no, they're super lovely guys, but we all just got a bit drunk and probably just bothered them quite a lot. But but
Well,
they were very polite about it.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that happens,
uh,
right?
yeah, yeah, of course.
Hey, I just thought about it because you just said that. I was like, what when you first heard this record, you were already making music. Were you in USA Nails at the time that you heard this record?
No, so this would have been a few years before we formed USA Nails. And yeah, yeah, so I was already I know when you mentioned about it should be an influential album, which is why I thought maybe I should go back further. But in terms of like albums that really sort of had an impact on me or really stopped me in my tracks,
Hmm.
this is really like hard to think of another record that that really made me think about um my approach to sort of songwriting. And it has I mean it's hard, it's kind of a great pop record,
Yeah.
but it's kind of noisy and weird and has these very melodic and very hooky elements to it, um,
Right.
and uh, I don't know, I'd always kind of been a bit scared of melody and writing in normal time signatures and stuff.
Yeah.
But this, I mean, not this album alone, but um, was a real like, you know, when you think you've heard a lot of sort of guitar pop and sort of punk bands from the 80s, and you've heard it all, and then and it's like, wow, there's still really sort of fresh, interesting, original records that I haven't even heard from that time that
Hmm.
do really amazing and inspiring things with music and words. And like, yeah, so in that respect, it it sort of made me. It was yeah, among many records when we sort of formed USA. I mean, Mets were a sort of big touch point as well when we were getting together USA Nails, when we were all sort of talking about bands that we were listening to and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, I mean, I feel like I try and somewhere between what Adrian Borland does and maybe what Lee Ronaldo does is maybe Graham Coxon from Blur, maybe, but
Hmm.
that sort of guitar playing that I don't know. I'm trying to make a connection here.
Well, I mean,
But
let me ask you the question. I mean,
mm,
what do you think that you've kind of pulled anything away from this record that like towards your own songwriting process?
um, maybe not maybe not process necessarily, but definitely that the melody in it is something that I really enjoy, and it's something that I would maybe be was a bit skeptical of music that was, you know, that had singing or like sort of melodies that you could hold on to.
Hmm.
But it was definitely this record was definitely a record that made me think, no, you know what? We can do this. We can introduce elements of melody and stuff into songs. It doesn't mean you've sold out.
Yeah, yeah,
So
sure.
yeah, I would say it definitely made me feel a bit more confident, a bit braver in terms of approaching sort of more melodic elements of songwriting. Definitely.
Hmm. Okay. Because then you started US Nails after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, obviously, Nails has that kind of, you know, that noise rocky, that heavier element. But I like to
Hmm.
think, especially with the more latter albums, like there is more sort of melody and more layers of um, pop, if you like. I mean, it's still pretty
Sure.
noisy and a bit gnarly,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there are, you know, there's. I like the idea of trying to incorporate those sorts of melodic elements into quite a noisy band, you know.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think that that
Yeah.
is, kind of uh defining for what noise rock is. Like
Mm.
it's just a different take on like what we already all know. Like one of the greatest examples I can think of, and the reason why I like noise rock music is because I lived in Providence, in the late 90s and early 2000s, and there were so many noise rock bands, quote unquote noise rock bands, that were coming around and that were here. And one of them being Lightning Bolt.
Mm.
I'm sure you're familiar.
Yeah, I'm going to see them tomorrow night in London.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah. A couple of my friends' bands are doing a collaboration set as a support act. So I'm super excited about it. It's going to be
Oh,
great.
great. Well, if you
Mm.
see either of the Bryans, tell them I say hello.
Okay, I will.
But that band, I love that band, and it's like, I've listened to the records like so much. Like being at the show was totally different because it was just so chaotic and noisy and loud that, you couldn't really make too much out of it just being pummeled by sound. But listening to the records and like hearing what Brian Gibson can do on that bass with like guitar strings and bass strings mixed, it
Mm.
was literally like of extremely fast, extremely loud heavy metal music.
Yeah.
Like it's all heavy metal riffs that he's doing. I was like,
Mm.
like that's essentially what it was. It was just like, okay, you're just playing metal riffs, but you've done it in this different way that's not mainstream in a broad sense,
Mm.
and kind of turned that genre on its head. And they would never be considered heavy metal.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
that there would be metalheads that would listen to them being like, oh yeah, I dig this. This is great.
Yeah. They definitely, yeah. So they sort of, yeah, it's quite. I feel a bit wanky using the word, but it's quite a sort of a postmodern approach, isn't it? To take something
Sure.
like that and like directly reference and then sort of just flip it around and just give it a different context, isn't it?
Yeah, but
Um,
that's what
yeah.
we're doing. That's what it's all
Mm,
about, really. I mean,
yeah.
either that or do something kind of more traditional, way better than the other band. That's pretty
Yeah.
much all you can do.
Yeah. True. Very true.
Yeah. Cool, man. Hey, well, again, it's been a great honor speaking with you. If you see the Bryans, tell them I say hello.
I will. Okay,
And
cool.
I'll get to see you in a couple months from now.
Great. Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait.
Final Envision is a Psychic Scout production. Theme song written and performed by Jeff Robbins of 123 Astronaut.